Today is Friday, June 13th. We'll tell you about Israel's attack on Iran and the fears it could explode into a full-blown regional war. Also, the one person who walked away from a deadly passenger plane crash. And America's divisions on display, with a huge celebration being planned the same day as major nationwide protests. Plus, how much the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is expected to cost low-income Americans. A new multi-billion-dollar investment in U.S. manufacturing. And how much Americans plan to spend this Father's Day. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. In a story that's still developing this morning, Israel has launched an unprecedented series of strikes on Iran, risking a regional war. It seems to be the most significant attack Iran has faced since its war with Iraq in the 1980s. Overnight, strikes targeted the country's nuclear program and killed at least 2 top military officers, including the commander-in-chief of Iran's powerful military. Many sites around the country were hit, including Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility. On top of nuclear targets, Israel also struck Iran's air defenses, long-range missile facilities, weapons depots, laboratories, and the homes and headquarters of senior officials. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah has warned that Israel will face severe punishment. Iran also accused the U.S. of helping Israel and said the U.S. would, quote, receive a forceful slap. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio says there was no American involvement or assistance in the strikes. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has promised to keep up the attack on Iran as long as necessary to, quote, remove this threat. He and other Israeli leaders believe there was an imminent threat that Iran would build nuclear bombs, though it's not clear exactly how close the country was to achieving that or if it was planning an attack of its own. President Trump is set to attend a meeting of his National Security Council today to talk about the conflict with top advisors. To be continued. An Air India flight crashed into a giant fireball yesterday just after takeoff. 241 people were killed. That's everyone on board except one man seated in 11A who was able to walk away. At the hospital, he even had his boarding pass still with him. He's expected to be released in the next couple of days. It's still not clear exactly what went wrong on this flight. It was supposed to be traveling from Ahmedabad, India, to London, England, but it crashed into a hostel for doctors. People on the ground were also killed. Aviation officials from the U.S. and U.K. are now headed to India to help with this investigation. Tensions over immigration raids and protests in Los Angeles are heating up even more. A federal judge has now said President Trump overstepped his authority when he sent thousands of National Guard troops into L.A. And in a ruling yesterday, he told Trump to return control of those troops back to California's Governor Gavin Newsom. But the White House has already filed an appeal, and the order is on hold. In other words, the National Guard is still deployed in Los Angeles. The ruling came hours after an incident that touched off even more outrage. Democratic Senator Alex Padilla interrupted a press conference Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was giving in L.A. When he did, he was shoved, forced to the ground, and handcuffed by security. Padilla released a statement saying, quote, if this is how the Department of Homeland Security responds to a senator with a question, you can only imagine what they're doing to farmers, to cooks, to day laborers throughout the Los Angeles community. But DHS defended itself, saying Secret Service thought Padilla was an attacker and acted appropriately. Meanwhile, larger marches and protests continued in LA and other cities around the country. Many have been peaceful, but others have led to clashes with police. Hundreds of people have been arrested, and curfews are still in effect in cities like LA and Spokane, Washington. No matter what happens with protests, the Trump administration insists the immigration crackdown will continue. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem now says agents going to the raids in LA are putting together a model and blueprint for other communities. And the military could get deployed to other cities as well. LA has seen a series of high-profile workplace raids at places like textile companies, car washes, and outside of Home Depot stores where day laborers tend to gather. Local officials expect more raids to happen every day for at least a month. But yesterday, President Trump did acknowledge his crackdown has hurt some American businesses. So on Truth Social, he said changes would be coming in industries where immigrant jobs are tough to replace, like farm workers and those in the hotel industry. Meanwhile, the president opened a pathway for wealthy immigrants to buy legal American residency for $5 million. This week, he launched a website for people to register their interest in signing up for what he's called both a gold card or a Trump card. Trump says at least 15,000 people have signed up to join the waiting list so far. He points out how that translates to $75 billion that can help balance the budget. The Trump administration has said even those who can afford a gold card will still have to be vetted, and more information is set to come out in the weeks ahead. Thousands of marching soldiers, hundreds of military vehicles, and dozens of helicopters will parade through the heart of the nation's capital this weekend. Everything is set for a celebration honoring the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army, which is also President Trump's 79th birthday. It's expected to be the largest military parade in the nation's capital since the end of the First Gulf War in 1991. Besides the parade, there will also be musical performances on the National Mall, parachutists, and fireworks, just to name some of the highlights. On the same day, more than 2,000 protests and events denouncing President Trump are planned around the country. Organizers are calling it No King's Day, meant to reject what they say is the president's overreach. Planning has gained even more momentum since Trump deployed troops to Los Angeles. Coordinators say safety and nonviolence are their priorities. Still, Republican governors in Texas and Missouri have already mobilized National Guard troops to help manage protests. As for Trump himself, the president has brushed off the mention of No Kings protests, saying he doesn't exactly feel like a king since he has to jump through so many hoops to get things done. Though in the past, he's sung a different tune, sometimes signing off his social media messages by saying, quote, "Long live the king." We're talking more about the military parade and the backlash this weekend in our special edition Saturday episode, so that comes out tomorrow morning. More news still ahead, but first, thanks to our sponsor, Trade Coffee. For me, coffee is no longer just a drink or even a habit. It's a ritual, something that helps me take a breath in the mornings and set the right tone and get the right mindset for my day. It's a little something that feels just for me. And I love that Trade makes it even more special and delicious. In fact, Trade's experts have taste-tested thousands of coffees to curate over 450 amazing roasts. And I appreciate that I can tell them as much or as little as I want about the specifics of what I like, and either way, they'll match me with a perfect coffee. And they'll do the same for you. Plus, Trade's prices are on par with grocery store brands, so you're getting this amazing quality and supporting local roasters, and yet you're not paying extra for it. Even my husband has become a coffee fan when he didn't used to be. And right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 50% off your 1-month trial. That's half off at drinktrade.com/newsworthy. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/newsworthy for 50% off your 1-month trial. drinktrade.com/newsworthy. Now, back to the news. Severe weather is impacting a couple different areas of the U.S. For starters, there's San Antonio, Texas. At least 5 people were killed yesterday when relentless rain led to flash flooding. At least a dozen others had to be rescued. It was San Antonio's wettest June day on record, nearly doubling the city's last record set in 1973. And more rounds of heavy rain are on the way for San Antonio and other parts of Texas. Separately, a wildfire is still burning out of control in Oregon near the state's border with Washington. At least 20 homes and other buildings have been destroyed. Thousands more are threatened, so people have been ordered to evacuate. It all comes as the U.S. is getting ready for what could be a brutal fire season. Most of the West is facing an above-normal fire risk through September. It turns out President Trump's big, beautiful budget package impacts Americans much differently depending on how much money they make. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office, aka the CBO, put out a new analysis this week. It says under the bill as it's written now, the poorest 10% of American households will lose an average of about $1,600 in resources a year. That's mostly because the bill includes cuts in the Medicaid health insurance program and food aid through SNAP. On the flip side, the CBO says households in the highest 10% of incomes would see on average a $12,000 boost, mainly because of tax cuts. Remember, the U.S. House passed the bill last month. The Senate is considering it now, but some Republican senators are talking about possible changes. To be continued. Large swaths of the internet went down yesterday. The issue was a Google Cloud outage. On top of all the Google apps like Google Drive and Gmail, it impacted music streamer Spotify, social media app Snapchat, and instant message provider Discord, just to name a few. Google says the problem has been fixed and everything should now be running smoothly. But the investigation into exactly what went wrong is still underway. Another company has just announced a major investment in the U.S. Chipmaker Micron Technology says it will spend about $200 billion on American manufacturing, research, and development. And the company expects to create roughly 9,000 jobs. It comes as the Trump administration has been working to increase domestic manufacturing and make the U.S. a dominant player in artificial intelligence. The U.S. Commerce Secretary says Micron's investment will help support industries like AI, automotive, aerospace, and defense. Already, Apple, Microsoft, and Taiwan Manufacturing Company have all said they'll also increase their investments in the U.S. economy. To Today is the first and only Friday the 13th of the year, and many people consider the date to be unlucky. In recent years, the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute has estimated that between 17 and 21 million Americans have an intense fear of Friday the 13th. Some fear the number 13 in general, which is why some airlines like Air France don't have a 13th row, and many buildings in the U.S. don't have a 13th floor. But other people actually embrace Friday the 13th, especially horror movie fans who enjoy the Friday the 13th slasher series. By the way, Sunday the 15th is a big day this year, too. Father's Day. And this year, Americans are expected to spend a record $24 billion on dads. That's according to the National Retail Federation. It says people plan to spend an average of almost $200 each. Popular gifts include special outings, clothes, personal care items, tools, electronics, and sporting equipment. To all the dads out there listening, happy Father's Day. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, thanks to our sponsor, Honeylove. When I wear anything from Honeylove, I can instantly tell so much thought went into every aspect of the piece, from the feel to the function to the fashion. And for this summer, it's great to know they have lightweight, breathable options that offer support, style, and comfort. It came as no surprise for me to learn that Honeylove is an independent, female-founded brand that is intelligently designed by women who actually wear the products. Honeylove shapewear, for example, it's designed to move with you. No more pulling it down or up anytime you walk around. And if you've been listening for a while now, you also know that I adore Honeylove's leggings and loungewear. Treat yourself to the most comfortable and innovative bras, shapewear, and leggings on earth, and save 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off honeylove.com/newsworthy. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Experience the new standard in bras and more with Honeylove. Now back to Feel Good Friday. While most high school graduates were out celebrating, one went right from the ceremony to work, even though he wasn't on the schedule. Mikhail Baker stopped by Burger King, where he works after his graduation, just to take advantage of his discount and get some food for his family. But when he saw how short-staffed his coworkers were, he stepped in to help, still wearing his graduation sash and medals from the ceremony. Soon after, a woman pulled up to the drive-thru and was struck by Baker's dedication to his job. So she decided to record a video of him in action. And the next day, it went viral, with many people asking how they could contribute to Baker's college fund. The woman started a GoFundMe page with a goal of raising $5,000. As of this morning, it topped $200,000. The Burger King Foundation also presented Baker with a $10,000 scholarship. The recent grad says he's blown away by the kindness of strangers, how much they've donated, and messages they've sent him, especially since he never expected to get noticed or rewarded. Originally, his plan was to take a gap year to keep saving money for college. Now, he's already applied, hoping to study to become a mechanic starting in the fall. Meanwhile, he plans to keep working at Burger King. Thank you so much for listening today. We'll be back tomorrow with a special edition Saturday episode about what to expect from President Trump's big military parade. Then join us again Monday for your next daily news roundup. For now, thanks again for listening and have a great weekend.